Welcome back to my channel. Today let's talk about misperception in a conflict that would be dangerous for diplomacy. Misperception drives us away from the real sources of conflict, and certain kinds of misperception lead to misattachment to the parties in conflict, which would then allow for the attitude of non-compromise among parties. All in all, it will shrink the space for diplomacy. So let's talk about misperception on Israel-Palestine conflict. Is it a war about religion? Come on, let me show you that religion may be intertwined in the history of movements, rebellions, retaliations among conflicting parties, but the war itself is not about religion. Don't forget to click subscribe, like, and share. Religion is a sensitive topic in politics. It pertains to our identity, of how many of us are born with, how a lot of us see the tradition of peace, and how to treat others. The rule of thumb, however, is to avoid putting religion separate from the sources of conflict, because then we'd see no way out other than sharpening the differences and allowing for violence. In the history of great wars and prolonged wars, religion is attached to some groups. Either they like it or not. Sometimes religion is attached to some groups. Religion helps to draw supports and flame hatred both within the group and to the opposite group, which will then draw more supports, financial, weapons, sympathetic supports that could flame the war even more. So we need to be careful with attaching religion in any kinds of politics. We need to talk beyond our differences and wants. Israel-Palestine conflict is about colonialism, illegal annexation of lands, betrayals, and violations of agreements. What's the proof? Before 1917, Palestine is a land so strategic, a crossroad of religion, culture, commerce, and politics. It is among the earliest places for the birth of civilization. Several religions were born there: Christianity, Judaism, and to the Muslims, Palestine was home to several ruling dynasties. The Palestine land was so fertile that it attracted many countries to come and conquer, from the Egyptians, the Syrians, the Romans, and then the Ottoman Empire. So just before the First World War ended, Britain took over Palestine from the Ottoman Empire. Post-World War I, Britain was given a mandate by the League of Nations to administer Palestine until 1948. During the administration, UK changed the fate of Palestine. The key was the 1917 Balfour Declaration. In a letter to a Jewish descent lord named Lionel Rothschild, the Foreign Minister of England, Arthur Balfour, on behalf of the government of United Kingdom, convey a message to the Majesty of King of England that Britain has approved in its cabinet the commitment to establish Palestine as a national home for the Jewish people. The government of England will use their best aid to facilitate the achievement of such objectives. At that point, 90% of Palestinians were Arab Palestinian born, and they were all raised there in Palestine. And since this Balfour Declaration, Britain technically occupied Palestine. They facilitate mass migration of Jewish people from across Europe and elsewhere around the world. Consequently, the Arab politicians in Palestine revolted against Britain, and Britain fought back fiercely. Tens of thousands of Arabs were executed, killed, and injured under British administration. British even formed contra-military forces, arming the Jewish population within Palestine, which they called Yishuv. These Arab politicians aligned then with Germany during the Second World War. And at that point, Britain tried to tame the disturbances within Palestine by announcing a restriction to Jewish immigration to Palestine. Britain said maximum 75,000 only people for 5 years since May 1939. But you can imagine, Yishuv, the Jewish community inside of Palestine, rejected this. Well, what can you expect? Violence grows more violence, And the Yishuv has developed intelligence networks, they become strong armies. They were equipped by the British, remember? So they resist the call to disarm. The Yishuv also asked for independence from Britain. And Yishuv has grown the ambition to expand its territorial concurrence, to expand Jewish settlements. Some of these Yishuv turned to become extreme right-wing groups, radical groups. Looking at this, the UN was concerned. A United Nations Resolution 181 was born in 1947 to partition the land of Palestine, partly for Arab states and then for Jewish state, and for Jerusalem it's treated differently. According to the UN General Assembly, 1947, Jerusalem is a corpus separatum. A separate area from the surrounding area will be fully managed by the United Nations. On 15 May 1948, Britain ceded its mandate in Palestine, done with its mandate, and then the State of Israel was born. At that time, the population of Jewish people in Palestine is no less than 33% of population living in the area. So, did Israel comply to the map made through this agreement? No. Israel continued the legal expansion of Jewish settlements, and they launched campaigns of violence to conquer more and more lands that was supposed to be a Palestinian state. Literally nothing stopped Israel from building Jewish settlements. The 6 days of war in June 1967 between Israel and Egypt, the Intifada movement in Gaza, the Oslo I and II Accords by the United States, and then the formation of Palestinian Authority. Nothing stops Israel from taking over Palestinian lands illegally. The Israelis even dared to assassinate their own Israelis who tried to respect the two-state solution agreed in 1947, Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. So, is that clear that Israel-Palestine conflict is about Israel's aggression to annex Palestinian land? Israel was fueled by the opportunity given by Britain to enter Palestine, especially with British facilitation, money, politics, weapons, that to this day, Israel becomes more and more aggressive. So, thank you for watching. I appreciate your support to my humble channel, and feel free to let me know your thoughts. Until next time, bye-bye.